discovery process. And I would say, and so does every person, not just by gender, but every person. And I would say to you, give yourself some time. Unfortunately, too often we are impatient with ourselves. Things don't happen, and this is the instant generation, where you have instant this and instant access and instant, what are we talking about? The rotary phone?
No
People don't need,
patience.
and we have no
No
patience. So my advice to young people who, and I say this on a regular basis to high school students particularly, my advice is give yourself some time. Don't expect so much of yourself at the moment. Know that you can grow. Know that you're comfortable, number one, in your own skin, and know that the potential that God has given you will be manifested. Just slow down. Just slow down a little.
Right, and I always like to just want to add, don't base it on material growth. Like I was telling my sons, they have my oldest son who had a dream of being a star basketball player. I said, well, maybe you would be better off not being a star yourself, but making many other stars. God may have a better plan for you than you have for yourself. I tell our children.
That's right.
What obstacles have you overcome to get to where you have?
Gender. Race, race, race. You'd be surprised how many people, and I'm talking about my generation, not so much today, but it still exists. Gender bias, say that, oh, a woman can't do that. Oh, that's too much for a female. I spoke recently for an event, and I told the story of going to church one Sunday morning, and I was late. I'm rarely late. I'm going to say that for service. I'm rarely late to work, but I was late that morning, and so I was standing outside in the narthex, and waiting to go into service, and a member of my church walked in behind me, and the usher handed him a bulletin, and he opened it and he said, "Oh my God." And I turned and I said, "What's the matter?" I'm not going to call his name, obviously. I said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Well, we have a female preacher today." And I said, "And what's wrong with it?" He said, "I don't listen to female preachers. I'm going home." And I said to him, "Mr. X, you mean you're not going to stay just because we have a woman who's speaking today?" He said, "Absolutely not." He turned right around, walked out the door, and did not stay for service. I was in shock. And I know that it's true in business, but I never expected it to be true in the church. It's like the gender bias against she-reverence, My girlfriends who are pastors of churches have many a horror story. And I'd love to say that racism is dead and buried. It is not. It is alive and well. And so the two impediments, the two barriers that get the most in my way are gender and race.
Yes. I know that you are globally active. Can you tell me about your trip to Africa?
Oh, yes. And if things work out, I'm going to be going back to Nigeria in about, hopefully, a month or so. It actually started out in East Orange with, remember Mayor Cardell Cooper?
Yes.
Well, the First Lady of Ghana, I do believe this was like well, never mind what year. I'm afraid she'll say I wasn't born, and then I'll really be embarrassed. The First Lady of Ghana was coming to the United States, and I was invited to attend the luncheon. I was completely enthralled. I've always been Afrocentric, but to actually be able to touch, the First Lady of an African country, I was hooked. I was hooked. I go to Africa every other year, and I'm for the most part I go to Ghana. The reason I go to Ghana is I work with the School for the Blind in Akropong in West Africa. Last year, I had the opportunity to go to Nigeria along with some of my friends. I want to mention Christine Hinton, so I shall, who is the only African American Braille teacher left in the state of New Jersey after I retired, who has been an absolute godsend to the motherland in terms of helping raising the level of consciousness here in the United States about the needs of children who are blind and visually impaired. And so it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey for me. And I encourage people who have never been to the motherland, you have to go. You have to save your ducats, your pennies, your pesos, your CDs. That's Ghanaian money. You have to save your money because to miss going to the motherland is to miss being in the presence of an important part of our history.
I believe so as well. What do you believe are the steps to becoming successful in life?
Being in the right place at the right time doesn't hurt. Isn't that right?
It doesn't hurt at all.
It doesn't hurt. Does that mean success? That just popped into my mind. I'd like to think that there were times when I was in the right place at the right time. And that in and of itself could be the result of strategic planning for your life. It could be the result of someone else's intervention in your life. But I think that it is probably the will of the person. I'm a believer that you create your own destiny with God. You create your own destiny, and without the will, to do these things, just as you yourself, you're graduating and you're going off to Rutgers to study journalism, you have the will to do this. That's I do believe the foundation of anyone who is successful, having the will to do it and saying, I can do it.
Thank you. That's all my questions for you.
Okay.
Well, I'm very, very impressed. I know you are. And I just want to add to the audience and to you. Even though Mildred and I both are very active in the community, we are known as workaholics, we know how to party.
That's right. We do.
We down at Symphony Hall,
That's
the
right.
line dance, and Mildred loves playing cards.
Oh, indeed. It's my middle name.
That's her middle name. So, we always believe that you have to have fun. You have to enjoy life to the fullest. You don't just stick to the work and the school. I mean, full growth and development is a social life. But first of all, you got to pay rent.
That's
buy
right.
food.
That's
go
right.
out of doors.
That's
It's no joke. But once you get the rent
That's
paid
right.
and the food, then you sit back and you have a little fun. You laugh because sometimes working and going to school and it could be a little stressful. So you have to work it off and stay wholesome. So always have a good social life. Enjoy living life to the fullest. I always do. And your grandmother would tell you. This is very, very important. And I am very impressed with the questions. You did it all on your own.
I am too.
And, I'm sure you got to write it up for Mr. Sam Arnold's newsletter.
Yes.
That is going to, be published in the community. And I hope that this experience has helped you, some. And we'd like to invite you again to discuss other issues that you may be concerned with. And of course, you're going to keep me abreast, and Mrs. Crump.
Yes, I will.
I'm going to stay in touch. I'm going to give you my card and
About how you
so
doing.
forth and so
And
on.
I am really, really impressed. I've been knowing you from birth and watch you grow to such a beautiful young lady and so well composed. I'm proud of you.
Thank you,
know,
Jada.
and definitely after I guess you see me looking this way, I'm looking at your mother. So, thank you, and Romeo and Hot Sauce Production, Mildred, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, my honor. I can't.
Thank you.
I'm sitting between a legend and a legend about to become. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make macaroni and cheese one day. Welcome to Hot Sauce Entertainment. I'm your outreach, reaching out to the community through television, other circumstances. I'm sitting here with the guests. Well, we call them family members. I'd like you to introduce yourself.
My name is Mrs. Viesha Morales. I'm a medical case manager at NJCRI, located at 393 Central Avenue in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay, being that you're a case manager, we look at case managers as far as court and everything else. What do your case management consist of?
Well, basically, my case management typically on an average day deals with HIV clients, but also outreach, because normally we get new intakes where they're newly diagnosed, where they're just knowing their status from our care and treatment, from our counseling and testing department.
Yes.
And what we do is we try to get them into treatment as quick as possible.
What do you consider treatment?
Well, medical treatment, as far as knowing their CD4 count, knowing their viral load, whether they need meds, whether they don't need meds. And I also do whether they need housing issues. It can be a lot.
So when you say CD counts and the levels, can you give the audience some typical idea of what that means?
Sure, their CD4 count and their viral load depends on if they need ATR, which is antiretroviral medications. Their CD4, if their CD4 is maybe like 300, which would be considered their white blood cells to fight their immunity. Their viral load tells how much of the virus is in their body.
So when you deal with matters, as we spoke earlier, I'm going to touch on people being miserable. How do you look at it as being a parent, if so, and the idea of the people that walk through on your premises?
Well, I consider everybody humans. Everybody, they're going to go through their struggles. My main job, and I do it regardless whether I'm at work or not, is to help people. I love helping people. So I look at it as an outreach to do my best at what I do to further assist, clients, individuals in general, in what I can.
So you seem to become more of a parental figure sometimes?
Yes, sometimes, because I'm there to listen.
So having a listening ear has its benefits as a preventive medicine for you, for learning, or just an idea to give you a reason to move forward?
It could be as well learning, as well as to what I want to do to further my, career.
How far you actually want to go?
It doesn't matter. Wherever God takes me, that's where I'm going to go.
So with this case manager, are you looking to, when you say outreach, how far do you want to go with it?
Maybe I probably would open my own business of an outreach center one day. I'm thinking of, if I get a little rich, I'll open a homeless shelter. Because we do have clients that come in, that are HIV positive, that are homeless. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they don't want to go into shelters, but, we try to, my main thing I would tell them is, try to find shelter. Let me find you shelter, but we can't force them into shelter.
That was one of the questions I was about to ask you in reference to, how do you feel about